One does not find peace by abstaining from violence altogether. That way one is conquered. Neither is peace obtained by waging endless war against all enemies at once. That way one is defeated. The wise strategy is to rise to necessary battles with appropriate responses at the right time. It is the same with truth. One does not find truth by denying the existence of all truth, nor by believing everything you hear. We do it by accepting as true knowledge certain propositions about reality that can be well propositioned. It is the art of propositioning correctly that illuminates truth. We learned in Lesson 1 that separating politics from philosophy is the first step. The second part of making a philosophical proposition is to ensure that the proposition is framed in the correct context. Søren Kierkegaard was a Danish philosopher who lived in the 19th century. He has a story that I will now plagiarize and perhaps bastardize for our benefit that teaches the concept of truth within context well. The story goes something like this. There was a lunatic once at Bedlam Mental Asylum that managed to escape somehow. He jumped out the window or some such thing and found himself on the street. Now that was the easy bit. A lot of lunatics escaped. It wasn't that hard. The hard bit was getting out of London. How does a human being that's completely crazy manage to walk his way out? But our lunatic had an idea. If he could just make it 4 blocks to the train station, he could get on a train and get out. And this was the really difficult bit, though. How does he act rationally when he hasn't been able to do so for 20 years? Through a huge, amazing act of human will, he manages to pull himself together. He starts walking, left foot, right foot, swings his arms as he walks, starts to whistle, ties his hair back into a knot, straightens his clothes, tucks his shirts in. Suddenly, he's pulling it off. People are passing him without staring. They're nodding even. He gets 4 blocks away from the lunatic asylum, sees the train station in the distance, and realizes his peril. There are guards and police officers out the front of the train station checking papers and things like that. And he says, "Come on, mate, pull it together. Just for once, you need to have a perfectly rational conversation. If you can do that, they'll let you pass. You'll get on the train. You'll be out of here." So he walks up to the policeman, and the policeman says, being English, "Morning." To which our lunatic says, Yes, it is morning. I agree. In fact, sir, I can prove it to you. Look now low in the eastern sky. I say the eastern sky. See there? It is the sun. That the sun is low in the eastern sky proves to you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, as sure as a triangle has 3 sides, it must be morning. To which the police officer grabs him immediately, throws him in the back of the paddy wagon, and takes him straight back to Bedlam Mental Asylum. And just as they're attaching the electrodes to his frontal lobes, he screams, "But how did you know?" The police officer's statement, "Morning," was not a proposition that it was indeed morning, but rather a banal English greeting. That our lunatic didn't recognize the context correctly was all the proof anyone needed that he was indeed crazy. So in Lesson 1, I dismissed the statement, "the genders are equal," as a non-truth. But now let's consider some other context besides just taking it at face value. Perhaps the statement is more truthful within the context of human rights. That is, both genders have the very same inalienable human rights. If all that matters are human rights, and the genders have an equal claim to them, then perhaps the genders are indeed equal. You see that the framing of this proposition within the context of human rights has given us more to work with. This propositioner would still then have to go on and define why nothing but human rights matter, and I'd suggest that this would be hard to do, but at least we get a clearer picture of why someone might make the statement, the proposition, "the genders are equal." Next, we had discussed the proposition, "immigration is bad." If we were to put this into some sort of context, perhaps the immigration of people infected with the plague into a population that is currently plague-free is bad, this might allow for some truth. So as we undertake to understand the world and make propositions that reflect our understanding, let's all try and make the propositions within a context and do our best to leave the truths declared by others within the context that they were made. I myself would propose that 280 characters of Twitter does not allow for truth and a context. Memes of cats, insults about Trumps, rhyming slogans on placards at rallies, they probably all fall into the same categories of things that can't be truthful because they can't include a context. Human beings walking along with their own personal context in their mind and see the placard, and the placard does illuminate a truth within the context in this person's mind. A person will point and say, "Now that's a true statement." But the person next to them who's got their own completely different context in their mind will look at the same statement in the placard and say, "No, it's completely false." It is neither true nor false. It is a proposition without a context, and we've work to do to prove it categorically true or false. If you find yourself in doubt, remember the phrase, "Oops, my bad," is often used in lieu of "I'm sorry," but one should never make this substitution in the context of a funeral. Okay guys, bye.